Welcome to BOJTV's Trending News for top local, regional and international stories, along with sports and local weather forecast. I'm Carla. Coming up in our local trending news, Education Ministry rejects false claims of CMU documents shredding. Peter Buntin says he is in full support of anti-corruption march by the PNP. Woman charged for stealing baby from Victoria Jubilee Hospital pleads guilty in court, and Portmore police say they are preparing burglary fingerprint file as evidence against alleged serial rapist. Now the news in detail. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is rejecting as false a recent report in sections of the media that persons of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information have destroyed the documents related to the Caribbean Maritime University since March of this year in a bid to impede investigations. In a release today, the Ministry said all documents related to the Ministry's engagement with the CMU, whether through Memorandum of Understanding or service arrangements, have been made available to the relevant authorities as requested. It should be noted that in keeping with normal Cabinet Office procedures, when there is a change in ministers within the administration or when there is a change of a government, all Cabinet documents issued to outgoing minister or ministers are to be destroyed and a certificate of destruction with a list of documents disposed of presented to the Cabinet Office, the release said. The release added that this procedure was followed earlier this year, consequent on a directive dated April 3, 2019 to Acting Permanent Secretary Dr. Grace McLean from the Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Douglas Saunders following the resignation of then Senator Royal Reid as Minister of Education, Youth and Information. The allegations that CMU-related documents were destroyed in an attempt to impede investigations are therefore false. In a release today, candidate for president of the People's National Party in Central Manchester, MP Peter Buntin, has made it abundantly clear that he is in full and total support of protests against corruption the PNP held last week Thursday and the one planned for Montigby tomorrow morning. He also indicated that he is looking forward to personally participating and mobilising his constituency and parish when the PNP organised protests come to central Jamaica. In addition, Mr. Buntin asserts that as he continues to go across Jamaica with the Rise United campaign, he will engage civil society groups in town hall or schoolroom settings in an effort to build a coalition of anti-corruption support. Mr. Buntin has asserted that corruption not only depletes resources that could otherwise be available to improve the quality of health care and education of the Jamaican people, but corruption is a handmaiden of organized crime. He said that public corruption weakens the will of political leadership and policymakers to take decisive action against the top criminals at all levels of the society. Corruption also damages Jamaica's good name abroad. Peter Gay French, the woman accused of stealing a baby from Victoria Jubilee Hospital on January 8 this year, pleaded guilty to the charge when she appeared in the Supreme Court today. She's to be sentenced on September 19. The 27-year-old, who is of Harker's Hall in St. Catherine, was taken into custody on February 5 when she turned up at the Registrar General's Department in Twickenham Park, St. Catherine, attempting to register a baby. A subsequent DNA test confirmed on February 7 that the baby belonged to a couple whose child was snatched from the hospital. She was charged with child stealing on February 11. A 17-year-old teenage male student is the latest person to be charged for his involvement in lottery scamming in Montigby, St. James yesterday afternoon. The identity of the accused student, who hails from Pigott Street in Mount Salem, Montigby, is being withheld by the police. Reports by the Mount Salem police are that shortly after 1 p.m, a team of officers assigned to the Zone of Special Operation in Mount Salem were on operation along Pigott Street when they saw the teen acting in a suspicious manner. He was accosted and a search carried out of his person and his cell phone. His phone contained photos of personal information and addresses of persons living overseas. The teen was subsequently charged with possession of identity information. Detectives attached to the Portmore Police Department say they are now preparing a fingerprint file to take back to court on Wednesday, July 23, when they are expected to present their case of burglary against 27 years old Shadeen Harris, the man who is in police custody for the alleged sexual assault of several females in Portmore. Upon his last appearance in court last Friday, the police informed the judge that Harris's fingerprint was found at a house which was robbed of more than $200,000 in cash and electronic items. In addition to the charges of alleged sexual assault, Harris is now facing additional charges of burglary. The judge told the officers that they had until Wednesday to submit the fingerprint evidence. Those are the top stories making local trending news. Now join us for news from across the region, as well as our international stories, sports and local weather forecast. From across the region. The first set of license to start production of medicinal cannabis in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have now been issued. The journey over the past 20 months to put the legislative and administrative framework in place was certainly one of most difficult yet gratifying tasks I have had the opportunity to lead in my career. It was not without major challenges, said Minister of Agriculture and Industry Sabato Cesar as he made the announcement. He said the step-by-step policy guidance from Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and the significant support received from his cabinet and parliamentary colleagues at different stages of the preparatory work had contributed to the successful opening of the industry. The Rastafarian community was also identified by the minister as a central pillar of strength in guiding the interaction over the period of consultation. In international news, Mexico's president said today he will use legal channels to try to get the fortune of convicted drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman returned to Mexico. I think that everything that is confiscated and has to do with Mexico must be returned to Mexico, Lopez Obrador said at his daily news conference. I think the U.S. government is going to agree to turn over what belongs to Mexico. We are not going to stop pursuing these matters through legal channels. U.S. officials have estimated Guzman's fortune as $14 billion, and a judge ordered Guzman to pay $12.6 billion as part of his U.S. life sentence announced Wednesday. The issue is complicated because this is supposedly money his drug trafficking organization made by distributing drugs in the United States. In the past, U.S. officials haven't said how they intend to get their hands on Guzman's money. Lopez Obrador said Mexico had erred in the past by allowing the U.S. to seize money in corruption and criminal cases against Mexican suspects, and pledged that won't happen again. Over in our sporting report, the ICC has suspended Zimbabwe Cricket ZC with immediate effect to ensure the sport is kept free of political interference. State-owned enterprise, the Sports and Recreation Commission (SRC), suspended the entire Zimbabwe Cricket Board last month with an interim committee appointed to run cricket in the country. SRC acted after issuing a directive that the governing body elective an annual general meeting would be suspended amid allegations over the nomination process and the violation of ZC's constitution, along with various other controversies. The international governing body has now taken the decision to strip Zimbabwe of full member status, which puts their hopes of featuring in the T20 World Cup next year in doubt. On your local weather forecast, insignificant feature, a high-pressure ridge across Jamaica. The high-pressure ridge is expected to remain across the island through to early Friday morning. A tropical wave is then expected to move across the island on Friday afternoon. The forecast for this afternoon will see isolated showers and thunderstorms across sections of central as well as western parishes and hilly inland areas elsewhere. Tonight, partly cloudy. Maximum temperature expected for Kingston as well as Montego Bay today is 34 and 35 degrees Celsius respectively. That was BOJTV's Trending News, your top local, regional and international stories, as well as sports report and weather forecast. Until next time, I'm Carla. Thanks for watching.